Hello there, this is Sean Usher. Very pleased to be with you today. Today I'm talking to Paul Deach, who is from the Surrey Heath Residents Network. And Paul has really embraced social media and uses it every day to communicate his message and the message of his clients as well. I see him all the time on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and I'm very pleased to say he's here with me right now. So Paul, tell us a bit about you to start with, and also how you got involved with social media.
Hi Sean, and hello everybody watching this live. Yeah, I got started with social media by mistake actually. I moved to Deach in Surrey, which is near Camberley, around about 2003. And the community that I live in was a new build. And you're right there, Sean.
Yeah. I'm just adjusting something here.
All right, no worries.
Unfortunately, that's the thing about these Hangouts. I was actually watching the live.
Oh right, you were watching the live.
There's a delay, as you know, there's a delay. Slight delay. Anyway,
okay, let's carry on.
Tell me about Deach, about it all.
No, no worries. So the community is a new build community, and there was a couple of issues that we had in the community, and there was about 350 properties at Dettingen Park, which is where I live, and the problems were mostly with the management company and the developer. And I was struggling to find ways of getting the community together in the local hall to discuss the issues and resolve them. So I decided to turn to a form of social media, you could say, which is email. And I created an email list. It took a little bit of work to begin with. I had to knock on virtually every door in the community, deliver leaflets and all the rest of it to get people to join an email list, which most of them did, to be honest. And then from that email list, we were able to communicate more effectively about the issues, get people together when necessary, and all the rest of it. And on the back of that, I then formed a PHPBB forum. And now if you've ever been on a web forum, is more of an open format so that people can discuss issues and various things, and that's what we did, and with that in mind, we resolved, I would say, about 95–96% of all the problems that we had here satisfactorily. And on the back of that, because of its success, the local authority contacted me and says, perhaps you might want to consider opening up some of these web forums for the neighbouring villages and all the rest of it, which again is what I did. The problem is that it kind of became a victim of its own success, because I then spent a large proportion of my day moderating comments from people who were using it as a means to either vent about their next door neighbour, and just stuff that's not generally constructive. Also, some of the local kind of political activists jumped on the back of it, and so I had to find a new way of trying to facilitate this social media, and I discovered WordPress. Thanks to Tim Dodds over in Lightwater. He's the one that introduced me to WordPress. I thought, yeah, this is the answer to all my prayers, because what we could now do is instead of me producing all the content and it being a bit of a free-for-all, what I decided to do was ask local contributors, people who are trusted members of the community, who have a genuine view about something, not because they have an ulterior motive, whether it be to promote their business or whatever, but just genuinely interested in issues relating to the community, and they contributed to it, and that's developed now. So from 2003 to today, we now have a blog and a YouTube channel, a podcast channel, a Twitter account. We try to exploit every form of social media out there, and media as well. So whether it be video, audio, or the written word, to get the message of the community out there.
Excellent. Right. So obviously you're using all these different mediums, and I know you're gaining great success because you're very well known in the social media platforms locally. From my angle is I work with local businesses, helping them to through SEO, through video marketing, through article writing, to enable them to get to the top of the search engines. That's my role, if you like, in helping businesses. But as you are the social media expert, and I'm not, I brought you on the call today because I wanted to ask you why you think, with your experience, you think businesses now should use social media. What are they going to benefit from it? How?
Well, I'm not so sure that all businesses should use social media. I think that it depends on the type of business and what they want to get from it, really. I think the obvious is marketing and PR. That's probably the best use case of a business. But the thing is with social media is that, and this is something I explain to all my clients, is that really if you can do it on your own. You don't need a consultant or anybody. You can figure this stuff out on your own, which a lot of the kids are doing. Mm-hmm. They figured it out how to use it effectively. And local businesses, small, medium-sized, even large businesses can do the same. But it's more about an investment in time rather than a financial investment. Okay, if you want to start getting a bit of an expert in it, then yes, of course, you can invest in some equipment like we've done. I mean, both of us are using really high-quality webcams to do this Hangout. We've both got good microphones. But actually, you could do this. You could have this Hangout on a Chromebook for 129 quid.
Yeah.
Everything you need to get going. But yeah, if you want to start getting pro at it, then you can start throwing money at it quite easily. But the point is that it takes commitment and it takes time. And the thing is that I see often businesses start a Twitter account because they think that's what they should do, but don't do anything with it. They don't update it regularly and that type of thing. And that's where it doesn't have any purpose at all. So like anything, it takes commitment. And I think that particularly small and medium-sized businesses, which I assume are the type of businesses that you mainly work with, Sean.
Yes, right.
They probably would see more benefit from it than even some of the larger companies, because it's cost neutral.
Yes,
sorry, go ahead.
Some of the big companies have embraced it, haven't they?
Yes, they have.
All the big names, and they are now really putting a lot more money into social media rather than advertising budgets. And you can see by the quality of like YouTube videos, for instance, that they put out these days, the quality is fantastic.
It is, and actually I've put in the in the showcase notes just a couple of the YouTube channels that I work with, some of the clients that I have and people that I'm working with.
Where would we find that, Paul?
In showcase. So if you're watching this on YouTube, there'll be a little sort of bar at the bottom that where you can find all the links, and I think it says something like you can engage with this broadcast by clicking this link, and all the links are there for you to look at. And I've shared a couple of YouTube channels there. And actually, you mentioned that they're putting more. Some of the big companies are putting a lot of money into it. But actually, if you look at some of the YouTube channels out there, the most successful YouTube channels, they're the ones where they're done almost in an amateur kind of way, rather than ultra professional.
Right.
Because I think that everyday, ordinary people like you and I, Sean, relate to that content rather than a slick Spielberg production.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, but as I say, nevertheless, they are improved. They are getting better. I really like some of them. I was looking at some last night, and some of them are what they're doing in the last. They were doing a rerun of some of the top 2014 ones.
Yes,
truly brilliant.
Actually, can I just touch on that, because that's actually a very good point. I think you're referring to the YouTube year in review video.
Yeah.
And what they did was they got together. I think it was about 100 of the top YouTubers out there. These are just ordinary people like you and I who have created YouTube channels. but have been very, very successful. Now, one example of a very successful YouTube channel is a guy, I forget his name now, but he's done a YouTube channel about Minecraft, the game.
Okay. Yeah.
Stampy Longmead or something he's called, this guy.
Okay.
He's got 4 million subscribers, nearly 5 million subscribers on his channel.
Amazing.
Now, my daughter's one of those subscribers.
All right.
And all they do is watch him play the game. He is quite charismatic. He narrates it as he's going along, and he's quite a charismatic guy. All you hear is his voice. You never see his face. It's not really, for you and I, it's probably not that compelling. But the guy's got 5 million viewers.
And it's niche, isn't it? I mean, you know, you don't expect, when you do an advertising program, for instance, you don't expect to advertise to everybody. In fact, you don't want to advertise to everybody. You're not after everybody, but you are after people in your niche. So let's get down to business.
But just quickly back to that video. That video that you're talking about. YouTube have these spaces, creativity spaces. They've got about 4 of them. They've got one in Tokyo, one in London, one in Paris, and one in New York. And these are industry standard production suites. And they got all these top 100 YouTubers together to produce that video. And they all have like cameo roles in it. Quite a feat in itself, really, when you think about it, to get 100 people, busy people together to produce a video like that. Yeah, so I'm a big fan of that video. And in fact, I did actually put it on my blog. I was that impressed with it. So, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about business and how business can actually use, or even individuals. Let's talk about that as well. How people can actually use the social media platforms. Have you got a favourite, Paul?
What? Who I follow? You mean?
No. I mean a favourite platform: Twitter, Instagram.
Oh, Facebook. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
You want to share it?
If we're talking from a personal point of view,
yeah.
My favourite social media platform is Instagram.
Right.
I love it.
Okay.
Absolutely love it.
Tell us why.
Well, it actually says in the title why. Its name is why. It's Instagram, and Insta means instant. And what I love about Instagram is that it takes very little thought or effort to publish something on Instagram. You can literally take a picture on your mobile phone of something and upload it instantaneously. And that's why I love it so much. And that from a business point of view and from a marketing point of view, you hear this term all the time that a picture speaks 1,000 words. Well, that's very true. You can tell a whole story with one image. But also, I think that the people behind Instagram, it's owned by Facebook now. It got bought by Facebook for a couple of billion quid. Yeah. You know, they've done very well out of it, but they've actually retained some of the key people behind the platform. And actually, they do a very good job of managing it. So one of the things they do regularly, if you watch your follow account on Instagram, you'll see it go down sometimes rather than go up. And the reason for that is that Instagram do a very good job of getting rid of the spammers.
Right.
And they'll just delete their accounts periodically. So that's why sometimes you could have a couple of 100 followers, and that can be significantly cut. And I think that's quite powerful.
So with your business clients, then you advise them to use Instagram as well.
Some of them I do.
Yeah. So do you want to mention a client that you actually use Instagram with?
Yeah, sure. I can mention a few. There's a couple I can't mention because of NDA and all that sort of stuff. But there's a couple of the clients that are now. The National Rifle Association is a good example.
Okay.
Who are using Instagram very effectively, because there's a lot that goes on at the National Shooting Centre in Bisley, and it's a great way of capturing that in an easy way. But also, the imagery they use is absolutely beautiful. If you have a look at it, and I suppose I would say that because a lot of the images I've taken, but the thing is that they're very selective about what they put out there because they want show their sport in a good light. And they use Instagram to do that, and they've got an international following as well, because the National Shooting Centre at Bisley is the spiritual home of shooting. Every year they have a big competition there called the Imperial, where literally thousands of shooters from all over the world descend upon Bisley to take part in this competition. But at the end of the month-long competition, they then crown the best shot in the world. This competition's been going on for over 100 years, and you know, they used Instagram. They launched their Instagram account at the start of the Imperial in 2014, and the response was fantastic. So that's one client that's using it to good effect.
The good thing about the NRA, I would imagine, is that, as you mentioned earlier, there's a lot of action shots, and for a lot of businesses, they don't have, like a carpet shop, for instance, doesn't have a lot of action shots. Do you know what I mean? Or a cleaning company. But another one.
But there's another company that I work with. This is a much smaller company. They're based in Chobham, and they're called Inside Chobham. Okay. And it's interesting that you mention a carpet shop, because that's exactly what they are.
Right. Okay.
They've diversified a little bit. They don't just sell carpet; they also sell this fantastic Annie Sloan chalk paint. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I've seen the business actually on your account somewhere along the line.
Right.
I'm aware of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and they also sell like interior design stuff for the house, candles, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's nice stuff. You know, that's nice. That's not. I mean, it's really nice, pretty stuff. You can actually take your photograph. And I've seen some of your photography, and it's great. I'm just talking about what I'm trying to get at is that, as you said right at the beginning, social media isn't for every company.
No.
You know.
No, it's not. And if it was just a carpet shop on its own, and that's all they were selling was carpet, perhaps Instagram might not be for them.
Yeah.
But Twitter would be, and so would Facebook.
Yes. Yes, I can see that. Yes. Yes.
You know.
Okay, so Paul, moving on from Instagram, it's your favourite at the moment, but I know you're quite prolific on Twitter. Tell us a bit about Twitter, because I mean, I use Twitter. I don't use it to its full advantage. Full advantages for me, but I know that you use it a lot, and you know, a couple of questions for you. First of all, do we actually need lots of followers? And we start off with 0, all of us do. Do we need lots of followers to get our message out there?
Actually, that's a really good question, because one of the first things I say to all the clients that I sort of go and do pre-consultation meetings with is that followers actually isn't that important. And what is important is relevant followers. And what I mean by that is I'll give you an example. Let's just say you've got 1 million followers, okay, and I've got 100 followers. But the 100 followers that I have are all local businesses. They're all people interested in what I've got to say, and they're following me because they want to follow me, because they're interested in what I've got to say. And let's just say all the 1 million followers that you've got are overseas. Perhaps they might be spammers, or they may be, I don't know, a business in Australia that is not related to you in any way, shape, or form. And the only reason why they followed you, because this happens a lot on Twitter, is that people follow you to get a reciprocal follow. Okay, that's the only reason why they're following you. That serves you no benefit whatsoever. Where the 100 followers that I have are interested in what I say, and I know they're interested in what I say because they're engaging with me. So when I tweet something, they'll reply perhaps with a question or with an acknowledgement that they agree with what I say, or they may just retweet me, which is quite an important part of social, certainly an important part of Twitter, or they may favourite what I've said. And that's what's important, is relevant followers. And as somebody who uses Twitter, like you said, quite prolifically, I'm what's referred to, certainly locally, as a social media influencer. And that's where you want to be. with your certainly with Twitter. You want to be in a position where people are following you because they want to follow you, and they also help spread the love, so to speak, because that retweet, when I tweet something and somebody who, I don't know how many followers I've got because I don't get hung up on it. Perhaps you could look that up now while I'm talking. But it's much better that if I've got, I don't know, 100 followers, but one of my followers has a couple of million followers and retweet something that I say, that's when it starts to get very powerful.
Well, you've got 1,700 followers.
Oh, right, okay.
So, yeah. That's a good number, though, isn't it? And one of the things is, Paul, you mentioned about the equation there about the number of followers you get, and people do follow you because they want to follow back. I noticed that you don't have many people. You're not following many people.
No, well, there is a ratio that Twitter look at very carefully when they're doing their analytics, and also there's a thing called Klout. Now, I don't really pay much attention to that, but there's an algorithm within this system called Klout. It gives you a Klout Score. It looks at lots of different elements of your social media. So it'll look at how many followers you've got, how often you're retweeted, what your engagement is, but it will also look at what your follow to follower ratio is.
Yeah.
Now I don't follow that many people.
No, it's about 130 compared to the people that are following you are 1,700.
Right. Well, and I periodically have a cull of the people that I follow. So so I go through the people that I follow, and if there's no engagement there, or they don't update their account regularly, or whatever, I'll unfollow them. However, what's important to understand that follow. Remember, I said earlier that it's not followers is not so important. Actually, the people you follow is not that so important either, because I follow people even though I don't physically follow them. And what I mean by that is within Twitter, there's a thing called lists. I don't know if you're familiar with Twitter lists.
No.
Well, what I do is because I play various roles within the community that I live in, so that I play a business role, marketing, social media consultant role. I play the role of the editor and contributor to the Residents Network. But I also I'm a local councillor and represent the community at the Borough Council. And it's actually very difficult to... So, for instance, I'll have a Twitter list of local community people. So people who I regularly engage with on Twitter that belong to the local community, local residents, so residents who I represent. I'll also have a list of people who I do business with, my clients, and so on. And the same for the Residents Network. I'll have a list of contributors or local community organisations that are relevant to me. So you don't actually have to be following them to understand, to see what they're up to on social media.
Okay. So
can I just stop you there just 1 second, just to warn people, because we've got quite a lot of people watching this live now.
Okay.
I'm actually expecting a delivery from Apple. I've been waiting in all day for it. So if it arrives, if my doorbell rings, I may have to pause just for a minute or two just to go and sign for the delivery. So just warn you.
One of the
I may stop.
Tribulations of live things, Paul. That's all right. Yeah. No problem at all.
Fair enough.
Now let's continue talking, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Talking about Twitter. You've got 1,700 Twitter followers. How do we get 1,700? How do we build our following?
By keeping it real. That's important. But also keeping it relevant. That's also important. If you start going off onto tangents about things that aren't relevant to, so if you're a business, let's say you're that carpet shop we mentioned earlier. If you start talking about, I'm hungry, I'm just going to put a bit of toast on, no one's interested in that. No one's interested that you're doing your ironing. They're following you because they're interested in carpet. Each to their own and all that. I don't have a lot of interest in carpet, no. But you know what I mean, and it's really important to keep it relevant. I see quite a lot. In fact, I pulled up our local community centre about this recently. They're on Twitter, and somebody tweeted from that account about something they were doing in their personal life, which had absolutely no relevance to the community centre whatsoever. That's important that you keep it relevant, because people are following you for a certain reason, not because, I don't know, you're hungry and you feel like making a bit of toast.
Yeah, yeah. But we can actually go and look at people that are following us and to see if they're in the same industry, and see who they're following, and maybe we can sort of make a connection that way. Is that
well, absolutely. Engagement is another great way of getting followers. So, for instance, if you don't follow me, but you regularly start to engage with me on Twitter. Now, it could be about any of the things that I'm involved with. It could be from a local resident point of view. It could be from a residents network point of view, or it could be that you're just interested in, my views on social media. If you regularly engage with me on Twitter, you'll realise very quickly that I will engage back. If somebody mentions me on Twitter, I will always reply. And once a rapport starts to form, I may feel that actually this person's very interesting. I'm quite interested in what this person's got to say. I'll start following them.
Yeah.
It's no different actually to the real world when you think about it. Social network, the word network, it's in the title. The networking we're doing in the digital space is no different to networking in the real space. So that's a good way to look at it. But engagement is a key part of social media, and people aren't going to follow you if they regularly talk to you on Twitter and mention you, but you don't reply. And that's actually a big mistake that a lot of companies make. Engage your customers. If they came into the shop, if a customer walked into your shop and started talking to you, would you ignore them?
Fair comment. That's right.
Social media is no different.
Yeah. What would you say is your pet hates in that case? I mean, not engaging would be one, I guess. But when I see a lot of people who pay to have a social media expert do their tweets for them, and all they're doing is putting out bland, for great plumbing results, contact blah blah blah. And I don't know why people pay other people to do that. I just find it just ridiculous.
Well, they do it because they don't fully understand what social media is all about. Okay, and also partly because they don't understand it, they'll get a consultant in that will blag them.
Yeah.
To say, oh well, you need to be putting more stuff out on your Twitter. You've not updated your Twitter in a couple of months. Really, you need to be tweeting every day. But we can show you a way that you can do that without actually doing it. We can automate that process for you. And while that is a great tool, so for instance, Hootsuite, which is a fantastic professional tool, I use it myself, and I advise my clients to use it, have this thing called RSS plugins. So what you can do is you can plug into a website that has an RSS feed, and whenever they update that website, your Twitter account will automatically tweet that out.
Right. Yeah.
So that it's curated content, basically. Now, I definitely advise my clients, and quite a few of the clients that I work with do that. I do it myself, but I always say that you should only use that to augment your real live tweeting.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's all very well putting out these posts every now and again. Gary Vaynerchuk, he was saying, he wrote a book, didn't he? Jab, 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 hook, or whatever it was. I forgot.
Yeah.
So you hit them 4 times with relevant information, and then you go in for the slam dunk and you sell them something. But you don't continually put out the same message about you being the best plumber locally or the best painter or whatever it may be.
Well, you've hit on a very important point, because it's okay to do that, but you also need to give them something to touch and feel. And that's actually what separates me from most other social media consultants, is that my social media is very much content driven.
Yeah.
Okay, so for instance, if I think that to tell a story, rather than just, which you can't do in 140 characters sometimes. You
Mm.
can't do it. It's impossible sometimes to tell that story in 140 characters.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to augment your tweets or your social media output with some content. So a link to a YouTube video, for instance, that you may have produced. And the beauty of technology these days, I mean, I have here my tool of choice. It's an iPhone 6 Plus. Okay, and I would say that 90% of the content that I produce is produced on this. Not only is it captured on here, it's edited on it and published on it. Okay, and that's what separates me, I suppose, from the rest. Is that I can go to an event. I get a lot of one-off commissions these days where someone will say to me, right, we want you to come to our event. We want you to capture some content of that event. And we want that content very quickly so that we can push that out on our social media channels. Which, with traditional media capture devices like, say, the big all singing, all dancing cameras,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and the big audio recorders and
Yeah.
the big deep DSLR cameras, it's not always possible to do that, because once you've been to the event, then you've got to get it back to wherever your base is. Take the memory cards out, put it into your Mac, edit it, and then publish it. And that whole process sometimes can take a couple of days.
It does. In fact, last weekend I did an event, and I actually did everything on the iPhone 6. I recorded some interviews, but I also did a video as well, and the whole process is so much easier.
Yeah.
I've got a big camera, but it's so much easier using an iPhone 6, and the quality is fantastic.
Tremendous.
I mean, after all, we're not actually putting all this social this video stuff actually on the television necessarily, although it will come. It's being recorded at 60 frames a second, as you know, and that's good enough for television, but it's great for the internet. And I just that tool you're talking about, the iPhone, it's just a fantastic.
It's outstanding. And the thing as well is that I mean, don't get me wrong, though, sometimes you have got to use that all singing, all dancing equipment. It depends on what you want it for. But these days, with the YouTube culture, people don't expect Spielberg productions. Okay, and if you go into the showcase, I've actually provided 2 links to 2 YouTube channels that I contribute to. One is the NRA UK. We've already mentioned those guys. But another company I work with is one of the UK's largest print media companies. They're called Optichrome. They're based in Woking. Fantastic company. And if you look at those videos, actually, they're quite amateur in their appearance, but they serve the purpose. And sometimes it's about getting something out quickly and making it. The other point of social media, of course, is that it's easily shareable. It's got to be easy to share, and YouTube actually do a very good job of making content easy to share. They provide share codes, they provide embed codes on every video. It's really, really easy to do that. And again, that's what social media is all about, because someone won't share it if it's a palaver, if they've got to do 10 or 15 clicks just to share something. What you've got to be able to do is do it in fewest possible clicks and least possible effort to get people to share your content. And that's really what social media is all about. So yeah, if you look at it, the videos are perfectly fine if you see that YouTube channel, but they're not Spielberg productions, but they don't need to be.
Paul, can I just ask you where we'll find that info? You talked about that a couple of times. Where we'll actually find that information? Because I'm actually on the on your channel at the moment, showing you the live stream.
Yeah. Okay, so if you're on the live stream, it says at the bottom. I'm just looking on the screen now. Be a part of the conversation. Click here to join the audience for this hangout.
Ooh. Yeah, can't see it. I must be daft.
Are you on YouTube?
I'm on YouTube. I'm definitely showing our live broadcast.
Well, you may have closed it down.
If anybody who's watching knows, you know.
If you refresh the page, it will probably appear.
Oh right, okay. Well, that will be the case then.
Refresh it. It says at the bottom. I'm just looking on. I'll just.
Yeah, I mean, if you could just so we can point people in the right direction for
Yeah,
it.
so if you refresh the page and then a link at the bottom with some quotes will say, be a part of the conversation, click here. And when you click that, on the right-hand side, there'll be links to all the different relevant things that we're talking about today.
Right, okay. Now I can't see it, so we'll leave it for now, but I can't see it at the moment, just so you know.
Yeah, no worries.
But anyway, that's we can put, if anybody wants the links, we can put it with the Hangout later on. Okay, well, let's talk about another one of your favourites, Facebook.
Yeah.
A lot of businesses have Facebook pages,
and so they should. In fact, right. I think Facebook is probably, and actually, from a personal point of view, I don't really like Facebook too much. But as a social media professional, I have to be on it. Really,
well, also surely 50% of people are on it anyway, aren't
lots of people are on it, and you know, also as a local authority councillor, I have to be on it as well because not everybody's on Twitter, and Facebook is very good. It is very good, and I think that most businesses, I would recommend at the very least, if you're going to be on any social network, then Facebook. You should have a Facebook page if you're a business.
Yeah.
And a new breed, I suppose, a new genre of community pages have appeared on Facebook. So, for instance, in the community we live in, there are a couple of Facebook groups. I'll give you an example. One's called Frimley Grapevine.
Okay.
And if I just have a quick look now, you'll see that there's actually several hundred followers of that Facebook page. Why don't you look it up now, Sean? While you tell us how many there are.
I will do, because it's always of interest to know what local ones are available to us all, because we all need to sort of publicise and get our message out there. And it's what Frimley Grapevine.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm just having a look now. Which I'm sure is not the most comfortable viewing for people who are watching this live.
Sorry about that. It's 551 members. I didn't know that. Wow.
Right, 551 members. Now, I guarantee you that all of those, or a very high percentage, let's say 95, 96% of the people that are members of that group are local people.
Right.
That's number one. So an enormous proportion of that following is a relevant follower. Remember I was talking earlier about relevant followers.
Yeah.
They're all relevant followers, and I would imagine as well another high proportion of those people who follow that group either live in Frimley or live in the periphery somewhere, you know, very close to, or have some link to Frimley. Maybe they're a business or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's that. And the thing is that the etiquette varies depending on which Facebook group you're on. Now, the Frimley Grapevine Facebook group, there's pretty much anything goes within reason. So if you're a business, they're more than happy for you to post a link on there, as long as you're not spamming it daily. They don't mind every now and again you posting links on there, drawing attention to to various activities and so on. They don't have a problem with that at all. Where there are other Facebook groups who frown upon it.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. And it's a matter of now. Actually, even those Facebook groups, it's worth going into those Facebook groups and engaging with people there.
Yeah.
Because once you start engaging with people in those groups, even if they don't allow advertising, you can engage with them and start adding them to your friend list and direct messaging them. And that type of thing, which is perfectly acceptable. So it's good to build and give yourself a profile in the community if you're a local business. So Sean, you're a media guy. It's a good platform for you locally to get yourself out there as the media guy, because there's nothing stopping you, from in your profile picture, having your profile picture as Sean, and underneath a little banner like you've got now that says, Sean Usher, media guy.
Mm.
You can advertise, so you can take part in these groups and advertise yourself more subliminally.
Yeah, and it looks like in this particular group, because it is a local business as well here near Camberley, they do allow people to actually promote their own events. So it is a good group to, I'm glad you've given it to us today, because it is a good group, obviously, to sort of look at and belong to, by the sound of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that one that you belong to? Is that one you follow? Are there others locally that we can?
There's lots of others locally, and the thing is that for me, I'm on those groups probably for a different reason than you are. I tend to sort of take part in those groups because I'm a local authority councillor, and people. I mean, these days I get most of my casework as a councillor via social media. A lot of it via Facebook. So I'm a member of those groups in case somebody, because quite often local issues are under discussion, and as is often the case, not for any reason for malice or anything like that, but people don't always get the facts straight, and I like to sort of observe the conversations. And if there's something I can contribute to from a factual point of view, so if somebody's saying, "Oh, that bloody council, they never fill the potholes," or well, actually, that's not true, because they do fill the potholes and spend a lot of time and put a lot of time and resource into filling the potholes. They might not do it as quickly as we would like,
but it gives you the opportunity to jump in and
and just put people straight on a few things sometimes. And quite often, I get tagged in on conversations, so I'll get a lot of push notifications on my mobile phone from people to say, "Oh, Paul Deach might know the answer to that."
All right.
So Facebook is a phenomenal engagement tool and shouldn't be underestimated. But one big bit of advice that I would give people if you're going to use it for a business is to set up a page.
A business page.
Or a page. Doesn't have to be a business page, just a page. Don't set up an individual Facebook profile based on your business. Set up a page instead. That's a much better, because there are much better tools within Facebook pages for businesses. And if you do it as a profile, you're quite restricted on what you can do. Actually, a pal of mine, Dave Allen, has done a YouTube video actually on how to create a Facebook page. It's surprisingly easy. So I would recommend people to watch that, because I think that it's, particularly if you're a business, it's a great way. And in fact, one of my clients, Oysters Chippy, is a client of mine. They're based in Lightwater. They're no ordinary chippy. This is the best chippy in Surrey, and I'm not just saying that because
you're not just saying that, are you?
I'm not just saying that because they're a client of mine. It's official. They were crowned the best chippy in Surrey last year. They're just trying to renew that crown. They're going through that process now.
Okay.
So if you're a local person watching this, I know we've got a few people watching this live. Vote for Oysters.
Vote for Oysters.
Vote for Oysters. But if you look on their Facebook page, I only set this up for them under 2 weeks ago. Under 2 weeks ago, I set this page up for them. Just looking at it now on my Chromebook. Let's have a look how many likes they've had. 75 likes in under 2 weeks, which is fantastic. And actually, there's some phenomenal engagement going on that page from members of the community. But also, what Facebook do is make it very easy for you to, if you have a page, to share the contents, for your followers to share the content. So you have the like button. Well, right next to the like button, there's the share button. So if you're putting a Facebook status update that says "Vote for Oysters" National Chip Week, you can share that, and that goes out to all your followers too.
Okay. So what's the Facebook page called? I've got Oysters.
It's Oysters Chippy.
Oysters Chippy. Right. Okay.
That's one word.
Chippy. Oysters Chippy. Okay.
Yeah, I'll put a link to that in the showcase notes once we finish.
Chippy with a Y, is it?
Yeah.
Oysters Chippy, yeah?
Yeah, that's on Facebook.
All right, yeah.
Facebook.com/Oysters Chippy.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Make sure you like that, Sean. Like it.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just about to.
Make sure you vote for them too. Well, actually, social media is a fantastic way to mount a campaign.
Right.
And even if it's a business campaign, it's brilliant for that. And I can think of so many different times where we've used it to good effect, to whether it be to raise money, whether it be to promote a business like this on National Chip Week, which is a marketing campaign. It's brilliant for that. And the trick is, if you're mounting a campaign, is to try and use as many different platforms as possible.
Yep. Yeah, I like it. I like the page. Well done. That's good. 76 likes now. I'm in.
Yeah, it's less than. Oh yeah, so it's less than 2 weeks old, that page, and they've had 76 likes.
Good. That's good. Very good.
And the other advice, and this goes for all social media, not just Facebook. First of all, don't, as I've said already, we said right at the beginning, don't get hung up on followers. It's not that important. And if you keep true to yourself and true to what it is that you are doing, have some passion about it, that will show in your social media, and the followers will come naturally. What you're after is again, relevant followers, organic followers. You want people following. Sorry? Engagement.
Very important.
And your passion, when you engage with people, will come out in your social media. And another thing that I hear all the time, I hear this a lot from particularly businesses who want to get into social media, but they're skeptical or they're hesitant or whatever. And they say to me, oh, I'm a little bit worried about people who might say negative things about my business on social media, right? And actually, the way to look at that, and this is why I say to all the businesses, is don't worry about that, because they're going to do that anyway on social media. You know, if you provide a bad service, or even if you've not provided a bad service, but somebody has the perception that you have, they're going to go onto Facebook and say, oh, don't do business with that Deach, he's a shyster or whatever, right? They may do that anyway. If you're not on social media, you don't have any means of coming back to that. Yeah. Coming back on that and saying, well, actually, no, you know, you're only telling one side of the story, or whatever. Or if I don't know, let's say you're a restaurant and somebody goes to you and has a bad meal, right? They're going to go on Facebook anyway and say to their friends, oh, don't go to Deach's Pizzeria because it's rubbish. The service is terrible or whatever. They're going to do that anyway. But what you can do, which you wouldn't be able to do if you're not on social media, is then comment on that and say, I am ever so sorry that you had a bad experience. We must have been off our game that night. Please come back and have a meal on us. Yeah. Yeah. Right? No, and right. Often it's about showing people how much you value your customers, how much you value good customer service. And so the way to look at it is a great way, social media is a great way, even if somebody says something negative about you, of showing people that actually you do value them. You are genuinely sorry that the experience they had was a bad experience, and that you're willing to go the extra mile and put a wrong right. Yeah, and that you care. I think that's important as well. Okay, so let's talk about other platforms, Paul. Now, I know you use. I want to talk about. We talked about YouTube, but I want to talk about podcasting and, of course, this platform here, Google Plus and Google Hangout. So take your pick. Well, let's start with podcasting, because I actually got into podcasting out of laziness, if the truth be told. I know. Because when I started the Resonance Network, when it went from being a forum to a blog, I was doing a lot of video then. Now, you'll be able to relate to this, Sean, as somebody who does video. But video is actually quite time-consuming. The editing, the capture, the editing, the whole lot is actually a very time-consuming process. Yeah. Unless you're doing it from an iPhone and you're using iMovie to edit and that type of thing. And so, you know, if you're not worried about... It still takes time. It still takes time. You've got to be at the location for a start. Yeah. To record it. Where with podcasting, that's not necessarily true. So I got into podcasting by mistake, and I used to listen I still do actually. I subscribe to LBC, which is a premium podcasting channel. You know, it's behind a paywall. I actually pay for it because it's that good.
Mm-hmm.
But I also got into, and which I would recommend anyone listening to this, whether it be live or on the recording afterwards, check out twit.tv. I'll also put a link to that in the show notes. Twit, that's TWIT.tv. Now, Twit is an American network which stands for This Week in Tech. And I'm an avid listener of their podcasts. Okay. And this guy, the guy behind the Twit network, Leo Laporte, has created a whole broadcasting network predominantly centered around technology,
mm-hmm.
in an industry standard studio, and broadcasts entirely on the internet, doesn't broadcast any other way. And it's been very successful, and I got a lot of my podcasting sort of inspiration from him, really. And another podcasting channel called The Cult of Mac, which is another podcast channel from the States. Mm-hmm. And it's just the ease of podcasts, because it's not just from my point of view why I love podcasts so much, because it makes my life easier to produce them. But actually, if I look at the analytics of the podcasts, because I'll be making a podcast from this broadcast, I'll rip the audio from it and just do an audio-only podcast. And I've discovered that actually, and I got this idea from Leo Laporte on Twit TV, that actually what you've got to do with your content is give it to people in a format that they want to listen to it or consume it.
Mm-hmm.
Make it easy for them to consume it. What I mean by that is, if I'm going to work, if I've got a long commute to work and I'm driving a car, I can't watch a video, right? Mm-hmm. But I can listen to the radio, can't I? Most people do listen to the radio when they're driving the car. Mm-hmm. Therefore, you can listen to a podcast. And what we're doing right now, although it's a video, actually you could get exactly the same from it by listening to the audio-only version of it. And podcasting is becoming much more mainstream now. More and more people are listening to podcasts. And really, if the way to look at a podcast is a radio show or interview or music or whatever, but instead of it being broadcast over the airwaves, it's on demand. It's broadcast over the internet, and you can just download it and listen to it at your convenience. And that's why I love podcasts. And it's also giving my, suppose, followers a media that's easy to consume. And when I look at the analytics of, so for instance, if we're going to have a video of this broadcast, it's been broadcast on YouTube, and when it's finished, there'll be a recording of that on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. And very shortly after, once I've ripped the audio, there'll be an audio-only podcast version available on my podcast channel.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that I get 6 or 7 times more plays of the podcast than I will of the video. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that, and the reason why I know that, is because people, when I look at the analytics, most of the podcasts that I produce are downloaded when people have Wi-Fi connectivity at home at about 7:30 in the morning. That tells me that they're downloading it and going to listen to it on their commute to work. Do you get that?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Where with a video,
yeah,
they can't watch the video on their commute to work.
No.
The other thing as well is that I mean, I have an unlimited data plan on my mobile phone, so I can eat all the data I want. But not everybody does. Some are capped at 2 gigabytes, and then they have to start paying extra for any data. So what a lot of people do is download the podcasts when they have Wi-Fi, mm-hmm. And then listen to it offline, so to speak.
The great thing, of course, about podcasting is there are no real restrictions. That's what I like about do it. And I don't do podcasts as much as I should do. I do audio interviews, and I work with my businesses to record interviews of them talking about the subject. Then I record that. I will edit it and put it on this site, but equally I will also transcribe it and then put those words into content on a page. So it works for me. But what I like about podcasting is I used to work in radio years ago, and there were so many restrictions, and there are so many restrictions on what you can say. You've got to mention sponsors, you've got to mention the name of the station, you've got to mention your name, blah, 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 blah. And quite honestly, it's so restrictive these days that it's a pain. And it's surprising that people have stayed in the business so long. It's an ego thing, of course, but a lot of people want to be on the radio because they want to be on the radio. But with podcasting, I think it's very intimate, and you're talking to people who are specifically interested in what you are talking about. If they're not interested in what you are talking about, then they're going to go somewhere else, because there's hundreds of thousands of other channels. And that's why, Paul, what you do when you do your podcast for the local area, for local businesses, and for the local news in the local area. That's why people tune in, specifically to hear not only your take, but also to hear what your guests have to say as well.
Well, they do. In fact, I was commissioned by Camberley Town Centre to do a podcast series for the independent businesses there. Mm-hmm. And it was a huge success. I mean, it was listened to by lots and lots of people. But also, more importantly, remember I was telling you about how my social media is very content-driven. Mm-hmm. And the podcasting platform I use, which I will recommend to anybody watching this live or the recording afterwards, if you're thinking of getting into podcasting, the best platform out there, without any shadow of a doubt, forget SoundCloud because it's very expensive. You can get you get a couple of hours free, but that's it, and then it's very expensive. Mm-hmm. The best platform, in my view, which is a British company, they're based in London, called Audio Boom. And I have put a link in the show notes for that, so if you can click that and find out all about Audio Boom. It's brilliant, and it's very much like YouTube in that they make it very easy for you to share the podcasts. Okay, and that's what was very powerful about that campaign, that independent business podcast series that I did for Camberley Town Centre, because that content was really easy for them to share. So the businesses themselves could take the podcast and put it on their own Facebook page or on their own website or ping it out on Twitter. And again, I'll repeat this: your content. Choose what type of content you use wisely, but also choose the platform provider wisely as well. And that's why I use Audio Boom, because they make it so easy for not only me to share, but for my clients to share as well, and that's really, really important.
That's good. Good advice there. Excellent. I don't actually use that platform. I actually have my my audio on Libsyn, which is
okay.
So that, but I mean, it doesn't. I'll be honest with you. It's not as easy as you suggest, because I know you can just do an embed code. For your platform, but anyway, very good, and thanks for sharing that. What about let's talk about Google Plus now.
Right.
Google Plus. You're an advocate of this now, aren't you? You love it.
I am actually. Yeah. The one thing I'll say though about Google, I will do a negative first before we get on to the positive. The negative is that I think that, and bear in mind, I work with this kind of technology day in, day out. So you'd think that I would find it very easy, but actually. I find Google to be not very user-friendly, not very intuitive, and it takes a significant investment in time to figure out how it all works. Okay, and that is a process actually when it comes to Google Plus, and particularly these Hangouts on air, what we're doing now. I mean, they are absolutely brilliant, and I owe you a debt of gratitude, actually, Sean, for introducing me to Google Hangouts, because you're the one that... Actually, I was already aware of Hangouts, but I wasn't aware of Hangouts on air, and there is a difference, and we'll explain that in a minute.
Yeah, and I remember you being, talking. We were talking about it, and you couldn't quite, you couldn't understand that I was saying you can do them live on air and you can talk to people, and since then you've embraced them much more than I have, and you've become a bit of an expert on them, I must say.
Well, I wouldn't say an expert, and in fact I know for a fact there are one or two people watching this who I look up to for advice on Hangouts on air, who will know that I'm not actually an expert on it. I'm far from it, but I have invested recently a significant amount of time in figuring out how these work, and I'll explain to you how I've done that in a minute. But Google Plus is not very intuitive. It's a brilliant social network, and I do believe that it will grow massively as time goes on. In my view, is probably one of the best social networks out there from the point of view of the facilities that it offers. But it's not easy to get your head around it. Now, so the main feature that I love about Google Plus is this Hangouts on Air, which is exactly what we're doing now. And I'll very briefly explain the differences between Hangouts and Hangouts on Air. So a Hangout is a private discussion, a bit like a Skype video call. If you imagine a Skype video call that probably most people will be familiar with, and it's between the two end users. They, whoever you're talking to, that's who will see the, what's going on. And that's what a Hangout is, Google's equivalent to Skype. The main differences are that Google offers some really neat tools that go along with that, so you can do things like screen share. And I'll show you what a screen share is now very quickly. I will share. Let's have a look here. That's my Google. That's an album in my. Can you see that, Sean?
Yep, sure. Public bridal way.
Yeah, that's an album within my Google Plus account.
Right.
Okay, so hopefully you can all see that. I'm not actually. When you say I was an expert, one thing I'm still getting my head around is screen sharing. But yeah, that's my an album within my Google Plus, and you can not only share images, you can share videos, audio. You can more or less share anything that's on a screen. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So you can do that within a Hangout, and you can do it within a Hangout on Air as well. But also up to 9 other people, 10 including the facilitator, can take part in a Hangout, which I think is also quite powerful. So that's just a standard Hangout. Now, a Hangout on Air allows you to broadcast that discussion on your YouTube channel, and that people can either watch it live, and I'm looking at my view account at the moment, and we've got quite a few people watching this live now. And then the most powerful thing, I think, and this is a benefit of the fact that Google own YouTube, is that once this Hangout is complete, so once I stop the broadcast, there'll be a recording of that put on my YouTube channel, and that's done automatically. They make that very easy for you. It appears within a couple of minutes of the broadcast ending. So even if people can't watch it live, they can still watch it later on. And I think that's very powerful because potentially, not that there will be that many people watching this live, but potentially millions of people could watch this live. And actually, Obama in America does these Google Hangouts on air regularly, and does have millions of people watching them live, which I think is very powerful. And I've used Google Hangouts with businesses, and in my role as a local councillor, I do this thing called Surrey Heath Live every now and again, which is a bit like a hyper-local version of BBC Question Time, where I invite a panel of guests, normally either other local councillors and other, let's say, community-minded people on the panel. We put out a hashtag on Twitter and Facebook and so on called Surrey Heath Live, and encourage local residents to ask questions, and then we answer those questions live and all the rest of it. And that's gone very well. But I also use it for some of the businesses that I work with. I can think of 2 off the top of my head. One is Glow Salon in Camberley, a fantastic local hair salon, and it's a bit quirky, the salon, in that Alan, the guy who owns it, has a bar inside, a fully licensed bar, cocktail bar. Okay. And what he does is every now and again, he's designed the hairdressing salon in such a way that all the pods where the hairdressers work from can be wheeled out, and it opens up the space. And occasionally he'll have an event. He did a Christmas event. He did a launch event for L'Oreal there. He's done all sorts of events there. And I came up with the idea of doing Glow Unplugged. And what that is we invite a local unsigned artist to play a set at the hair salon. So we take out all the pods, open up the space, the bar's open, everybody's having a good time, and they perform a set. And we did the very first one not that long ago with a local unsigned artist called Katie Hurt, who is a kind of country pop type singer. And it went really, really well. And we used Google Hangouts on air to broadcast that live over the internet. And the response we've had is fantastic. It was covered in the local media. You know, the big buzz about it. And we're going to do another one in March. We're going to do one every quarter to begin with, and maybe as it gets more popular, maybe even do it monthly. And that's a great way for that hair salon to get brand awareness in the community, because of course, right above the singer, there's a little placard there that says Glow Salon, Camberley, and all the rest of it. So it's a good subliminal advertising platform for the salon. And actually, I think quite a cool use of social media. Yeah. And then there's another company that I use, which is, we use Google Hangouts in a slightly different way, and that's In Mind, In Body. And they are a membership club that specializes in an alternative therapy called guided visualization. I don't want to go into it in too much detail, but essentially it's a form of meditation stroke hypnotherapy, and it allows particularly cancer patients who are really stressed out or whatever because of the treatment or because of the worry of having cancer. They can listen to these recordings of activities that help them throughout their treatment, and it's very effective. I know a couple of people who have used it, and and we're using Hangouts on air to talk about guided visualization, but also some complementary therapies. And it's a regular show, and in fact, I'm doing one at 2 o'clock with them today. So if anybody wants to watch that, they can do.
So the thing is, Paul, I mean, we go back to what we were talking about earlier, and I want to wrap it up because we've gone over the hour. But we talk about content, and what you're doing is you're talking about that last client of yours. They're giving this free information about cancer treatment, about hypnotherapy, and they're giving free advice, but also they're giving help and guidance. And that is what I think. What I was trying to get at right at the beginning is, it's already well published, throwing up a link saying we are the best hypnotherapists in Camberley, or whatever it may be, best painter. What they are doing with you is actually providing free information. And that is what it's all about. It's about giving, and then asking. Like Gary Vaynerchuk says, you give, and then you ask for something. And that's fair.
I think I said earlier on, we're also giving something that people can touch and feel and relate to. And also the beauty of this technology, Google Hangouts on air, is that it actually gives the audience a way to participate live. And in fact, before you wrap it up, that's exactly what we're going to do, because we've actually had in the questions and answers section of this Hangout on air, we've actually had a few comments which we can reply to. So while you're doing a Hangout on air, if you use the business In Mind, In Body that I've just mentioned, if you've got a cancer sufferer who's considering using that product and has a question, they can actually ask the question live on air, and an expert member of the panel can answer it. That's really powerful, really powerful. Should we just do that quickly, Sean? Just reply to these comments.
Yeah, sure.
The first one is hello from Serbia. So we've actually got someone watching this live from Serbia. Hello there. Thank you for watching live. And we've got another one here from Kelly Lopez. Thanks for watching, Kelly. Her question is, hey, can you please explain the purpose and the basic way to deal with it, please? I think we've actually covered that in the broadcast, but the purpose, if you using it, depends what your reason is for using social media. But if we use the business context, because I think that's why Sean has really wanted to have this hangout, the purpose is to tell everybody about your business. Social media is actually a fantastic way of giving the world a digital shop window, really, into your business. In the traditional sense, if you own a gift shop in Bagshot, the only way people are going to see that is either if they walk past the shop and look in your window, or actually go into the shop. Well, the beauty of social media is that you can give people a way of having a digital shop window, or actually having a look inside your shop without having to leave their own home. And so that's probably a good purpose. And the basic way to deal with it is in exactly the same way you would deal with a real life interaction. That is, be polite, be courteous. The normal, I suppose, realms of decency apply with social media as they do with in the real world. And you know, and the other thing, the other basic way to deal with it is to be honest and true to yourself, because that will show. And also be passionate about whatever it is that you're talking about. Do it passionately, and like I said earlier, the followers will happen.
Agreed.
So I hope that answers your question, Kelly. But if it doesn't, you can see my Twitter address there, at Paul Deach. Feel free to follow me on Twitter or direct message me, however you want. That's fine.
Excellent, excellent, Paul. Anything else there? Any other questions there?
No, I think that's it. They're the two questions that we had, or the
Excellent.
two interactions that we had there.
Right. Okay. Well, listen, I just want to say thank you very much to you. I know there are other platforms. We could go on forever. There are other platforms we could talk about, but I'm aware of other people's time, and I just want to say thank you to you for taking the time today to talk to me, because you know we were all used to using just Google, you know, google.com for searching for things and trying to get business for our business through just Google. But now, of course, it's all changed. Social media's come along. There are other platforms in which you can utilize to actually get business, and that's the difference today. And there are going to be more and more going on. Instagram and all the other ones that are coming in, more and more businesses are using.
You should pick the one that you're comfortable using, but also something I say to a lot of my clients is don't stitch yourself up. And what I mean by that is, you know, don't start writing lengthy blog posts, because obviously blogging is another form of social media. Don't start writing weekly blog posts and you do that for a year and it goes really well, and then you just get so busy that you don't have time to do it anymore. Or you just lose interest in it, or whatever. If you keep it simple and easy to begin with, and you start seeing the results from it, then all the other more technical, more time-consuming stuff you'll want to do that anyway. In fact, I think you'll find that you may even want to invest more. You mentioned this earlier, Sean. You know, maybe you want to start investing in your social media, but start seeing some results first. Do it slowly, work with it, understand it. And one other big tip I would give to people: before you do it for your business, set up your own Twitter account. So rather than set up a Sean Usher Media Twitter account, which is a business account, just set up a Sean Usher account. And get your head around it first, you know, or even set up a pseudonym. It doesn't have to be Sean Usher. It could be Nelly the Elephant. It doesn't matter. Set up a Twitter account, or set up a Facebook account, or an Instagram account, so you can figure out how it works. And once you're comfortable with it, then set up a business one.
All right. Thanks for all your tips, Paul. Really appreciate it. And if anybody wants to get hold of you, of course, on the screen at the moment, no doubt you're showing your Twitter handle and also the www.deachy.uk.
Yeah, and if you want to follow me on Instagram, like I said, it's my favourite social network, not just from a professional point of view. I post personal stuff up there as well. Follow me on Instagram, which is @Deachy.
Okay, that's excellent, Paul. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.